The Lakers are looking for a center. We know it, the NBA knows it, pretty much the entire NBA world knows it. They're after a center, and that's going to be their #1 priority this offseason. And not only that, but we know what kind of center they want and what they're kind of looking for here too. Number 1, a center that would fit the long-term timeline of Luka Doncic, that being somebody preferably under the age of about 28, preferably even 25 or younger. Centers tend to age a bit quicker, so gotta have a guy to pair with Luka Doncic for 10 years plus ideally. Then for the skill set, we know that they want a lob threat to pair with him. Kind of think a guy like Derek Lively or Daniel Gafford, an athletic vertical threat, a good rim runner, rebounder, and maybe even ideally, a decent floor spacing big man in regard to 3-point shooting. So with that in mind here, what guys would actually fit that for them and actually could be on the trade market? Well, according to a new report, there might be 3 of them that would be their dream targets, so we'll talk about who they might be. And talking about the report I referenced, this coming from Jovan Buha, The Athletic, saying that the Lakers would like to have a guy like Walker Kessler, Jalen Duren, or Onyeka Okongwu, saying that they're quote-unquote in the mix for them, but likely not realistic options because the Lakers either don't have the assets for them or the teams won't trade them. But regardless, that definitely signals that the kind of big they're targeting, and even ideally one of those 3 if they could get them. I mean, we've heard about Walker Kessler lately. Apparently he might be back on the trade market for the right price, potentially signaling that Utah and Danny Ainge don't want to pay him. He is under a 1-year contract after all, so any team that would trade for him would have to give him a new contract. And well, that also is the case for Jalen Duren, also entering the final year of his contract, only 22, but who knows, maybe could also be on the trade block for the right price. After all, we've heard about the Lakers trying to trade for him. Also, according to Jovan Buha, The Athletic, he said that at the trade deadline prior to them trying to trade for Mark Williams, which obviously fell through, they contacted Detroit about Jalen Duren. Now that obviously went nowhere, but I guess they could circle back on it, call back Detroit and see how they're feeling about him now at this point, following their brief playoff run and definitely showing that their team is going in a different direction. Not in regard to Jalen Duren, I mean maybe about that, but simply going in a more contending direction. Do they feel like Jalen Duren's their answer at the 5? After all, many Detroit Piston fans think that he's actually not, citing him being a not so great or rather not so committed defender at times, is more so just a traditional big man that maybe can't offer what they need at the 5. So could he instead be a trade possibility for them, trading him to a team like the Lakers? Well, that might be a possibility if you ask the right person. But would they actually out what the Pistons want for him, and could they pull off that trade package? Once again up for debate here. And then finally for Onyeka Okongwu, I know some fans will automatically rule him out due to being 6'8", but if you've actually watched him play and do know about his skill set, he actually would be a pretty good fit for the Lakers. Like both Duren and Walker Kessler, is a lob threat, is a good rim protector, or at least can be in regard to Jalen Duren, is an athletic 5 that is under the age of 25. And well, much like Jalen Duren, apparently they also tried to get him at the trade deadline too. According to Dave McMenamin of ESPN, the Lakers inquired about Onyeka Okongwu, contacting the Hawks about him and if they would trade for him, but they were unfortunately turned down. Saying quote-unquote, "I do know the Lakers made a call to the Hawks around the trade deadline about Okongwu, and well, I guess that pretty much confirms what they're after here. Obviously the lob threat, obviously the athleticism at the 5, that's what they're after in a center. Pairing that with Luka Doncic, trying to replicate what he had back in Dallas with Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively, and the 3 guys that they have been most linked to and the 3 they have actually contacted teams about are Walker Kessler, Jalen Duren, and Onyeka Okongwu. But okay, great. We know they'd like to have them, but what would it actually take to get them, if that would even be a possibility? I mean, we've heard plenty about it in regard to Walker Kessler. We know the trade package the Lakers have offered, or likely some variation of it, which includes a combination of Dalton Connect, their 2031 first-round draft pick, their 2029 first-round draft pick prior to them trading it at the trade deadline, now looking more so at their 2027 draft pick they already owe the Utah Jazz, simply removing the pick protection on that, which is 1 through 4, then adding in a first-round draft pick swap. That's apparently the combination or some variation of it that they have offered to the Utah Jazz and have been repeatedly turned down. Which, in my opinion, really hints at it not being very likely and probably not being a possibility for them. After all, that's pretty much their best trade package they have to offer, unless they would include Austin Reeves, who, according to Jovan Buha of The Athletic, is likely not a guy they want to trade for Walker Kessler, saying that he might not be enough to get back in an Austin Reeves trade. So apart from Austin Reeves, then they really don't have anything else to offer that Utah might want. I mean, I'm not even sure they would want Reeves here. They're looking more at a long-term rebuild, and Reeves is 27 now, so he actually wouldn't be a good fit for that. Yes, he's a good trade asset and they could then trade him again, but according to that report, that's not something they even want to do, that being the Lakers. So kind of moving on for Walker Kessler, I unfortunately don't think it's a possibility for them, and I think we can rule it out. But could they circle back on either Jalen Duren or Onyeka Okongwu? Maybe. If we're talking about Jalen Duren, I actually think it's a lot more likely. Like I said, is under a 1-year contract, much like Walker Kessler, and that does kind of leave it open-ended between him and the Pistons. Does that mean they don't want to extend him, aka not paying him, and potentially move on to a different player at the 5 for them? Maybe. And not only that, but it could actually help a trade in regard to making a trade for the Lakers, with him only under a 1-year contract, then having to pay him thereafter if they would pull the trade off. That does actually lower his trade value a bit. Now, the Utah Jazz might not believe that with Walker Kessler, but that does happen to be reality, which it might apply to a guy like Jalen Duren if the Pistons don't want him. And to actually make a trade work for him, it would be possible, albeit difficult. They could offer a similar trade package based around Dalton Connect, offering him with a guy like Shake Milton, then throw in a future first-round draft pick. Maybe that's what they already offered at the trade deadline, who knows, but maybe Detroit might think about it. Maybe they'd ask for a bit more here, or maybe ask for a different player, I'm not sure, but it could be a possibility. Again, they might not want to pay him, and maybe the Lakers would be willing to pay him and trade for him at the same time. Many Piston fans think they actually should not pay Jalen Duren. They prefer them to either trade him or find a different player that would be a better fit for their starting lineup. With a guy like Azir Thompson not being a great 3-point shooter, Cunningham being an improving 3-point shooter, but their floor spacing is a little bit bad at the moment, so many would like them to trade Jalen Duren, in part from his lack of commitment on defense. So also something to keep in mind here for the Lakers. But between him and Walker Kessler, I definitely would say a trade for Jalen Duren is much more likely. But then finally finishing up with Onyeka Okongwu. Again, many Laker fans might not want him or have a little bit of confusion about why he is a target for them. But like I said, if you watch him play or half watch him play, then it should become fairly obvious. For one, he is a lob threat, is actually a better rim protector compared to Jalen Duren, is the much more complete defender in my opinion, actually can switch 1 through 5 at times, and between the rim protection, switchability on defense, and simply better defensive IQ, he is the better defender. And then offensively, the only one between all three of them, meaning himself, Jalen Duren, and Walker Kessler, that can provide both vertical floor spacing, aka being a lob threat, and 3-point shooting floor spacing too. Dating back to the 2023-24 NBA season, Onyeka Okongwu has become a bit of a 3-point shooter, knocking down 23 3-point shots back in 23-24, and then 48 of them during the 24-25 NBA season, amounting to roughly a 33% average. Not too bad, and with him showing improvement and building more confidence, that definitely is a good outlook for his future. However, that future likely is with the Atlanta Hawks. I mean, between himself, Duren, and Walker Kessler, he is the only one that's been shown commitment by his current team, with them giving him a long-term contract extension. And with him having 3 years left on that contract, it definitely would be hard to pry him away from them. Not to mention, with them finally moving on from Clint Capella, he is an unrestricted free agent and a guy the Lakers have also been linked to. They're apparently not looking to bring him back and are set to move forward with Onyeka Okongwu as their starting 5. Now, might that change if they would trade Trae Young and therefore enter more of a different kind of future with their team? Maybe. But ultimately, it would be very difficult to trade for him nonetheless. Compared to Kessler and Jalen Duren, they couldn't offer the Dalton Connect trade package. That simply wouldn't be enough salary to work with here. They would instead have to work around a contract like Rui Hachimura potentially, or an expiring contract like Gabe Vincent and Maxi Kleber without much trade value, then have to base the trade more around draft picks. That being pretty much every draft pick they have to offer. Their 2031 first-round draft pick, likely 2 future first-round draft pick swaps, maybe their second-round draft pick, and pretty much throw it all on the table here for Onyeka Okongwu. I mean, if we're not trading Dalton Knecht, that obviously would be kind of fair here, only giving up either Gabe Vincent or Maxi Kleber with draft compensation. That's probably what it would take to get Onyeka Okongwu. So between the three of himself, Duren, and Walker Kessler, would definitely take a lot to pull off a trade for any one of them. Again, I think the most likely one would be Jalen Duren, probably having the lowest price tag and probably being the most realistic in regard to his current team actually being willing to trade him, maybe. I think that's probably the one they'd maybe have to take a look at here, for better or worse. I don't see a Walker Kessler trade happening. I mean, maybe Danny Ainge will turn a new leaf and actually accept their trade package, but I doubt it. And I also don't see Atlanta taking their trade package for Onyeka Okongwu. And well, with all of that being said here, what do you guys think? How do you feel about the Lakers' reported dream targets at center between Onyeka Okongwu, Jalen Duren, and Walker Kessler? Do you like them, and do you think a trade can actually be pulled off for one of them, if any of them? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But I think that'll pretty much do it for this one. And if you enjoyed the video, then I'll greatly appreciate it if you dropped a like, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and hit that notification bell to never miss out when I upload a video. But as always, thank you for watching and have a great day or night.